Alrighty, good evening, everybody. Today's Thursday, December 9th, 2021, at 7:30. We're here at the Newbury Town Hall. This is the Newbury Zoning Board of Appeals. Merrick Swan, Chair, Elaine Baker, Member, Mario Carnavale, Member. I have Martha Taylor, who's administrative and is the Town Planner, and Chrissy Beaupre, who is also an administrator for the ZBA. Take it away, Mario.
Sleeping on your job here. Okay, public hearing. Support the Pink House, 60 Plum Island Turnpike. Applicant is requesting a variance reversal of administrative decision for relief from Newbury zoning bylaws 97-6B, lot area in Note 1, in order to change the boundaries of the existing lot at 60 Plum Island Turnpike and create a new single-family lot containing dwelling known as the Pink House, which will not comply with the area requirements for contiguous upland and area outside the ACC on property located at 60 Plum Island Turnpike, Newbury. Assessors map R30, lots 9 and 10.
All right, so this is a continuation, and the public meeting was not closed, so the public meeting continues, and so we will start with the applicant, and if the applicant has any new or additional information to present at this time.
No.
No? Okay. Is there anybody in the public, in the audience, that would like to speak in favor of the project? Is there anybody in the audience
I'll
that
put my
would
2 cents in.
like to speak against?
My name is Bill Barrett. I live at 1 Jackson Way, Newbury, and I've kind of worked with the group. I'm a former contractor, so have some construction knowledge, and I have made sure that the house stayed in decent enough condition that it was worth saving, and evaluated for people that needed to know how the structure was and whether or not any of this should go forward. So I've been involved pretty much from the start, but not on a daily basis, more on an as-needed basis. I really appreciate what the group is doing. I think the house is really worth saving. And every time I drive by there's an artist or somebody who's painting or taking pictures, and I hate to see that not there. That's what the wildlife was going to do with it, was tear it down. So I appreciate what they're doing, and I'm all in favor of it going forward.
Excellent. Anybody else in the audience? Anybody speak against? Okay, so then do we have any new or other information that was submitted to us?
Steve mentioned comments.
So, we do. I got
We
it.
did receive an email from a resident. We did receive an email from a resident.
Okay,
I'm gonna go get that.
okay.
Is that, I think that's.
I can get it from here if you want.
Okay.
You emailed it, right?
I did.
Yeah, okay. I'll probably get it right here.
And it's from,
It's from Steve Mangin.
oh,
Plum
okay,
Island.
yeah, and I have it printed.
Oh, you do?
Oh, okay.
Got it. Just give me 1 second since I printed it. All right, so we'll read this into the record. This is from Steve Mangin, and he is, what's his address? He is at 21st 14th Street. So, Steve, dear Newbury ZBA, I'm writing, maybe somewhat repetitive, so I ask for forgiveness. I write in opposition to the request for the variance for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife owned parcels upon which the so-named Pink House is located on Plum Island Turnpike. Substantial hardship. The current combined lot is lawfully non-conforming. The proposed subdivision would create a non-conforming lot for which the variance is needed. Transforming the current conforming situation to a non-conforming one should not be allowed as the reason to obtain a variance because of a hardship. I oppose granting a variance when the applicant creates a hardship for which it seeks relief. Since the Pink House sits on non-conforming parcels, the applicant purchased the entire parcel from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services. There would be no hardship. In Importantly, building permits and Conservation Commission conditions needed to save the pink house could be applied for. Purchase of all of the parcels would allow the new owner to seek these permits to save the pink house. And it should also be considered that properties to be swapped with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, generally a condition for sale of wildlife refuge property, are not identified. Building codes for structures in the floodplain require that if the cost of the renovation exceed 50% of the value, the building must be brought up to current codes. That is, any proposal to save the pink house will almost certainly trigger requirements to substantially alter its visual profile. It must be raised on pilings and be out of the flood zone. Note that the current spring tides have resulted in water around the pink house, maybe even into the basement. Spring tide storms induced flooding is going to increase. The next one, PIOD. The pink house property is not on Plum Island, is not subject to the PIOD and the restrictions contained herein. Restrictions as to the building footprint, height that are embedded in the PIOD will not pertain. We could see a McMansion or so-called built subsequently. And then there's a section about right of first refusal. Deed restrictions cannot be granted for future build-outs. There are examples in case law on how deed restrictions and other conveyances can be overcome. Any proposal to restrict renovations of the pink house can be subsequently, thank you, overturned, especially if the U.S. Fish and Wildlife does not exercise its right of first refusal. Even if the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services will have right of first refusal, that does not guarantee that they could choose or otherwise have the resources to purchase the property. So in closing, I agree that Pink House is a noteworthy structure on the Plum Island Turnpike, but it was for sale for a great time in the mid-'80s, as I recall, and no private buyers concluded a purchase. Since then, the new building codes and environmental rules have been enacted and must be adhered to. These will result in a building that is unlikely to preserve the Pink House as we know it to be. Most importantly, the creation of the so-called hardship by the applicant should not be the basis for granting a variance. Steve, man, sorry for any mumblings, but the first time reading through it's a little difficult. I'll make one note that the Pink House does sit within the PIOD, and the PIOD does extend to Plumage Down and on both sides of the Plum Island Turnpike to the point where the Newburyport property makes a kink in the town lines.
It actually goes down to Ocean Ave.
Oh, yes. So I have a map just to say that. For the remainder, it's not, it's the board's understanding to take, as you will, Steve's comments consideration. It's not our point to debate every single one, but to understand if there is something in here that caused concern, then to bring it up and ask. Does that make sense? Okay. And that is, Chrissy, the only additional
Yes, that is.
piece of information. Okay. So, public meeting is still open, but we're at the point of the last meeting before the continuation. The board had asked town council to help us draft a finding and decision of approval for the variance so that we may see and understand what it might be, and that they did. They did send this out. There were several drafts and copies your council had received, and actually provided some edits to it. And the board members each got a copy of it, but we have not discussed it amongst ourselves. So first I'll ask is if the board members have any comments or questions to the drafted decision.
No, I just didn't see the edits, though. Do these include the edits, the copy we have?
It should, there's an edit, there was one that town
Was that the historical commission? Was that the included?
That
Yeah, it
was
was
one.
condition 5.
Okay, yeah, okay.
And then I sent an email
I don't have that
right
one.
shortly before the meeting, around 5, with some suggested language from
Yeah, 4 or 6.
Attorney Hall.
What?
Yeah, so there's an update there. So this was highlighted in yellow.
Oh, okay,
Additional
okay,
information,
got it.
And this is additional information right here.
Okay.
That's right here, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So I have one.
Okay,
So.
ask away.
One,
Yep.
it says that the application was an appeal of the building commission's written determination. If you look at the application says variance.
So-
And it's a determination on that, because there's two spots, there's one where you're applying for a variance, and then there's a second where you're applying to overturn the building commission's decision.
Right, so in terms of the understanding of discussion of what needed to take place legally in order to set things in motion for a condition of what is being presented, the variance needs to be granted for the site that is proposed, that is, because it is a non-conforming site. So, I think council understands that there was a determination, and that determination has the variance within it. But I guess I had highlighted it too, and I guess we just need to ask whether the term variance is what is sought, because it does say within a variance based upon the findings and the determinations set forth herein.
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
Okay.
Right, under the general findings of fact, his letter is quoted. And he says in order to move forward, the new lot will require a variance from the Newbury zoning board of appeals.
Yeah.
So that was, that was the language that kind of triggered it. So I don't know if that addresses your question, but.
Really, all right, then, page 3,
Yep.
paragraph H. It says 456,457.
Yeah, there's a technical typo of
Okay.
the area of the lot. It's just 457 needs to be 547.
547.
So 46547.
46547.
Yeah.
Good catch. Yep.
And then there's not, that I'm not. And I think that's one
Okay. Are you any comments?
No, I don't.
Okay. So in terms of the decision has a procedural history of what was presented, what the dates for the applicant's presentation to the board. It has section 2 is submitted material. We need to add the letter from Steve Mannion into the list of materials at the bottom there. There is then section 3 findings and determinations. And then it goes into last part is the decision. So Mario, I think let's read from the findings and determinations part 3.
Okay, you want me to read all that?
Yep.
Okay.
I think everyone needs to hear it, and we should have it on record. And then, you know, 4 pages to read through, and I'll read through.
Okay, so I'll start with the findings and determinations. General findings of facts. The October 12, 2021 determination by the building commissioner states in relevant parts, I have received a site plan for lot adjustment for 60 Plum Island Turnpike, Newbury, Mass. In order to move forward, the new lot will require a variance from the Newbury Zoning Board of Appeals in regard to zoning code 97-6 lot area, note 1 regarding contiguous uplands and location in the ACEC. The applicant is Support the Pink House, Inc., 25 Story Avenue, Suite 109, Newburyport, Mass. Care of Rochelle Joseph, President. The record owner of the property is United States of America, Department of Interior, Fish and Wildlife Service, Hadley, Mass. The property which is subject to the application is 60 Plum Island Turnpike, Newbury, shown on Newbury Assessor's Map R50 as Lot 9 and 10. The property consists of 2 parcels with combined total area of approximately 3.197 acres, located on the southerly side of Plum Island Turnpike. The property is entirely in the Residential Agricultural District and in Plum Island Overlay District and the Great Marsh Area of Critical Environmental Concern. The property is currently improved with a single-family residential dwelling and associated driveway. The applicant seeks to change the boundaries of the existing lot to create a single-family lot containing structure known as the Pink House, shown as Lot 1, and 2 non-buildable lots shown as Parcel A and B on the above-mentioned plan. This lot reconfiguration will allow the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to enter into an agreement to exchange the new single-family lot containing the Pink House for a parcel of conservation land at a different location, which land will further the USFWS's party that will restore the structure as a single-family house under the terms and preservation restrictions to be approved by the Massachusetts Historic Commission and Town of Newbury by and through its Historic Commission. The new single lot will have lot area 46,457, is that correct?
547.
457
No,
square feet, 1.069 acres, with 251.7 feet of frontage and 20,000 square foot of contiguous upland. Pursuant to the Chapter 97 of the Code of Town of Newbury zoning, Article 6, Dimensional Regulations, 97.6B, regardless of the actual lot size, at least 80% of the minimum lot area for the district shall be contiguous in upland and shall not be in wetlands or in the Parker River Essex Bay Area of Critical Environmental Concern, known as the Great Marsh Area of Critical Environmental Concern. The proposed new single-family lot does not meet these requirements in that it is entirely in the ACEC and contains only 20,000 square foot of contiguous upland rather than 32,000 square feet required for a single building lot in the R/AG. At the hearing, the STPH, through its counsel and its designated representatives, presented arguments and testimony supporting its request for relief from the dimensional requirements. At the hearing, several abutters and residents spoke in favor of the application. Written comments received both supported and opposed the application, and these are the specific findings. In hearing an application for the variance pursuant to 4810, Section 9711B of Newbury zoning bylaw, the zoning board is empowered to make orders or decisions, reverse or affirm in whole or in part, or modify any order of decision. In this case, the applicant requests the zoning board grant a variance to allow creation of a new single-family lot containing Pink House and 2 non-buildable lots from the existing lots. C, in making this request, the applicant's counsel posted the following. The Pink House is considered to be an iconic structure. Support for saving and restoring the house is widespread, and preserving it will provide a community benefit. 2, the proposed lot line changes are necessary to create a smaller lot for the house, which can be conveyed by the USFWS to a party that will save and restore the Pink House. The only feasible way to preserve the Pink House is to transfer it into private ownership. The USFWS is not able to undertake the restoration work itself, and under existing rules cannot convey the existing parcel to their entirety to another entity. The parcel containing the Pink House will be exchanged for a parcel of conservation land in another location which will further the mission of the United States Fish and Wildlife Service. The proposed lot line change will preserve the existing condition. No new buildable lots will be created. And 4, the existing lot containing the Pink House is non-conforming as to the amount of area outside wetlands and outside of the ACEC. The proposed lot line changes will not exacerbate the existing condition. A variance is warranted in accordance with the MGL C40A, Section 10, for circumstances relating to the soil condition, shape, topography of the land, which involves substantial hardship to the applicant and the owner. In particular, the applicant noted the extensive wetlands on the property as a soil condition and the shape of the land. Do we need to add anything else? I don't have it.
Strict enforcement of the footnote 1 requirements will constitute a hardship in that it would prohibit division of the land for the purposes of conveying the pink house to an end user and would eliminate all practical and economical viable options for saving and restoring the existing dwelling. You want to take a break?
No, that's okay. The requested variance may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without nullifying a substantially derogatory from the intent or purpose of Newbury's zoning bylaw. Decision. In the view of the foregoing, zoning board hereby finds the variance due to hardship owing to circumstances relating to the soil condition, shape, topography of the land, and request relief is unique in that if granted, it will both benefit the local community and further the mission of the United States FWS, and that a variance may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good, that indeed, based upon the evidence presented, the public will benefit in a unique way unlike any other surrounding properties, and the relief can be granted without nullifying or substantially derogatory from the intent or purposes of the Newbury bylaw, namely by promoting the general welfare of the inhabitants of the town of Newbury and to conserve the value of land and buildings, including the conservation of natural resources. It is therefore decided to grant a variance for the proposal lot 1 with respect to area of contiguous upland and area outside of the ACEC as shown on the above mentioned plan in accordance with the terms and conditions stated below. 1, the variance shall not take effect until the applicant shall file his variance decision with certification from the town clerk with the Southern Essex County Registry of Deeds or land court of registered land, and a copy of decision stamped with the recording information, book page, land court document number, shall be included with the application for the building permit. The approval not required plan to be submitted to the planning board shall also make reference to the decision date and conditions of the approval. The variance shall lapse if not exercised in 1 year. No building permit shall issue hereunder, and no work shall commence on the property or on the structure until the historic preservation restriction approved by the Massachusetts Historical Commission and approved by the town of Newbury by and through its historical commission is recorded, and a copy of said recording is provided to the building inspector and planning office. The variance and the other conditions hereof shall be binding upon and shall ensure to the benefit of the applicant, owner, and their successors and assigns and shall run with the land. Any modification to this structure other than those approved by the Massachusetts Historical Commission, the town of Newbury, by and through its historical commission as part of the preservation restriction, or any changes to the lot line shown on the above mentioned plan shall require modification to this variance. Appeals shall be made pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 17, and filed within 20 days after the date of filing of this decision in the office of the town clerk.
So in terms of the conditions, I do have what I need to note to the applicant or to add here that as it is within the PIOD, anything that is proposed or any work on the house will have to come back before the ZBA for the special permit finding as per the bylaws. 2, I had a question that in terms of stating the division of the land and creating the non-buildable lots, as the statement as to why the 3 lots are required.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, it's a question that's been asked, and it says that it says a statement of, I don't think it says necessity, but in terms of dividing the land to create 2 buildable lots in 1 lot in order to be able to convey the property.
Well, it's just because of the location of the house that in order to create a 1 buildable lot, which already has the building on it, it occupies the middle of the site, so the land on either side of that, in order to continue that, the preservation of that land and the ownership of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, those have to be separate parcels because they don't adjoin one another.
So in essence, this large parcel is being made smaller with the house to convey it from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and the lots A and B remain with the U.S. Fish
They would
and Wildlife.
remain with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife
So
Service.
they're keeping as much as they can in the means to subdivide divide it, make it smaller, makes it favorable to them.
Exactly correct.
Okay. That-
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that's the question. Are there any other comments? And George, if you're here, you had a chance to read this in full and provide edits to it, so you are, have complete understanding of everything
Yeah,
that's written.
complete understanding of it. The conditions are, most of them imposed by statute anyway. Really what's going on here is the restriction, and that is important to the viability of the whole transaction anyway, so the applicant is content to accept that requirement.
Okay. And the applicant is here, is understanding of the decision and accepting of the terms and conditions set forth.
And has reviewed it with her counsel.
Is there any other discussion? So we'll close the public meeting at this point. And any other last comments on the decision? No? Is there a motion on the decision?
Okay, motion to grant the applicant a variance from the Newbury zoning bylaws 96-B to change the boundaries of the existing Lot A at 60 Plum Island Turnpike to create a new single family lot.
Second.
Second. I would add to amend to that that the motion that we have in front of us gets edited per the edits that we requested. Chrissy? And those edits, do I need to go over them, or is it quite clear of what we were?
I heard
Some
you.
minor text edits, just,
Not doing it again.
okay, just making sure that the edits are clear.
So the motion is also to approve the decision as amended.
Yes.
And I have one question, if I may. Your comment about the PIOD, was that just a comment, or was that a condition that you wanted to add?
I wanted to make it clear in the understanding, and it's a condition that's already granted by the bylaws, so it's not a condition that has to be listed, but
Right.
just the understanding is this is a process, a unique process. It's just not just a straightforward, no variance is straightforward, but it's not just a straightforward variance. There's other things tied to it. I just wanted to make sure you were aware.
I've reviewed that provision in the overlay district, and I've reviewed it with my client, and we understand it.
Okay.
It's not something we could address in this proceeding anyway, so.
Right, I understood, but it's just, and
Yeah.
for people who would watch this and understand and think that this was one and done, and this is still needs to go to the planning board, still needs to come back before the ZBA, so it
Yeah,
is.
depending on what he proposes to do, but yes.
Understood, but it's not the last,
Right.
it's not just gone and done and someone's
Right.
gonna go off and do something with it. There are still other restrictions.
Absolutely, and we're voluntarily imposing much more significant restrictions through the historic preservation restriction.
So is there a vote? Mario?
Aye.
Elaine?
Yeah.
Yes. Eric says yes. So, 3 in favor.
Thank
Passes.
you very much. Appreciate your time.
So we'll get the amendments made and get ready for signature.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
That's all right. I was on a roll.
Last time that I.
Yeah, thank you.
Give them to you.
I forgot to ask. Thank you for reminding me. This is just your butter stuff.
Just got it. Everything was George.
Here you are. You are very organized. Yes. Yeah.
No, it wasn't. We can work on it.
No. That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. All right.
I'd suggest we get.
I love your website. Thank you so much. It really is nice. It draws you in and, yeah, I've enjoyed reading everything about it. Have fun. Yes, definitely. Bye, Sandy.
Good night, you too.
I think you might have given me originals.
Oh, okay.
You probably want those.
Oh, thank you.
Assuming unless you.
They're all originals.
Unless you use the color copy. Oh, okay.
Yep, they're all originals, so they drop them
It is
all.
so much easier to do a
I just
budget.
slip them all in and distribute. Thank you.
It's great. Take care. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. You too.
Anybody left?
All
All
right.
right, Mario, please.
Public hearing, General Vendetti, 7 Hutchins Road. The applicant is requesting a special permit finding for relief from Newbury zoning bylaw 97-4D, upward extension in order to raise the existing family structure, single-family structure, and construct a new single-family residential structure on pilings on the lot located at 7 Hutchins Road, Plum Island, Newbury, Mass. Assessor map U03, lots 24, 27, and 28. Owners Gerald Vendetti.
All right. Mr. Vendetti, we had a continuation. There were some, I guess, inconsistencies in the application that we asked you to review. We asked you to submit some existing conditions so that we could verify the number of bedrooms that exist and the number that you're going to. And then we had some questions in terms of seeking to town council on the accessible apartment or an apartment, and it's allowed or prohibited within the BIOD.
Yes.
And so with those questions, and I don't know if you had any plan updates, that just anything that's changed. The public meeting is still open, so if there's anything additional you have.
The only comments I have are, it's my interpretation, I think town council agreed that it's a bedroom, correct? So I redid the numbers, did a couple of sketches for elevation and floor plan to show that it is a 2-bedroom currently, and also included the tax record from the town showing it's assessed as a 2-bedroom. So I think answered those questions.
Yeah, and I don't, I think some, how do you say it? One bad apple sometimes taints the barrel for what we receive, and not that we had any misgivings about you, but the questions arise when we see certain things that have been presented in the past.
Oh, I agree that.
So we're out to check it, and we're out to make sure it's right, and if we have any doubt, then we're taking the extra effort to look at it.
I understand that.
Is that?
Yeah. No, I've been in the business a long time, and I've seen all kinds of sideline activity that's come with that.
Okay.
And so I know what you're talking about.
So we're out for the best of the residents of Newbury and the public interest in terms of just trying to make sure it is what it is, and so we just asked the question. So, no, I think in terms of bedrooms, that's clear to me. The existing condition, number of bedrooms, extra bedrooms, and the plan as you had presented it and labeled it, the clarification of definitions and issues is clear.
Good.
Okay. So the application, it did have, I think, 1 or 2 questions, and just in terms of when you had asterisks of what was or wasn't included, to make sure we're understanding of that.
Yes.
And Elaine, I think you...
I tried to make it, the form, as I said earlier, doesn't fit, so we have to make a few notes on the side to make it more clear, so to speak.
So the first is the lot coverage, where you have the total lot coverage listed as 2,940 on the line above, and then you have 2,660 without garage down below. And the lot coverage percentage line, it says 20%. The
Yeah.
20% uses the 2,660 number without the garage. I believe if I do it again and check my math, 2,940 divided by the 14,700 is, well, that is correct.
Yes.
I'm sorry, it's the FA, correct. Then there's something on the FAR that's slightly different. Okay. So that is correct. Does anybody have any questions there?
I think the FAR is where we took out the garage.
So on the FAR,
Can we stay on this? for-
yep,
This is the previous one.
yep,
He's not including his shed. He's taking that out. So he's got existing footprint, proposed footprint. This is all blank. But the previous one,
that's a good catch. So the shed was listed as 170 previously and or 71 square feet, and you've taken that one out of the existing square footage.
Oh, okay.
are you doing that?
That wasn't, we're taking the shed out, yeah.
Okay.
So there's no shed.
No shed, no.
So it's just gonna be 1,145?
Yeah.
Okay. Right?
Yeah, that's
Yep.
the existing, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right?
yep. All right, now we're on to the FAR checklist.
Okay.
Wasn't sure.
All right. These
Yep,
don't add up to,
what are they, one,
I have 1146.
one?
What did you,
I didn't,
and
Yep.
plus, he's got,
Yes, so the two questions, okay, so Elaine has a slight discrepancy in that there's a few more square footage in terms of the total of existing. It's 6 and 6
Oh, yeah,
is
one-
12.
1145.
Right, so the storage closet, it seems, was missed in
Yeah.
the number.
Right.
Right, so there's a
That's
slight
what that
number
is,
there.
Yeah.
And then as you, the garage and, so here, if you take, I think this is, sorry, I made my notes last week, but 3594 divided by 147 is 2.44. Yeah, 2.44. So,
Yeah, that includes the garage. 3594 includes the garage, which is another 280 square feet. I'm sorry,
garage carport is 280 square feet.
right.
So list the total here. So that,
So you have to take the 280 from the 3594, and then that would give you the FAR 22.
3314.
but in terms of the exclusion of the, where do we specifically say that the garage is excluded? It's under the roof and it's,
I think it says it in the guidelines for FAR.
that puts it at 23%.
yep.
Okay, here it is, order ratio. The following area are to be excluded in gross floor area. Basement attached or detached garages and carports.
Attached or detached garage, okay. Yep, and we are, I think, in the process of trying to update the forms so that things that get added together, because there's no space to redo the math on the page, so I see how you put your
Correct,
notes.
yeah. It's hard to make it all work together because the
But,
doesn't have the allocation
So this number right here should exclude the 280, so when you do the math
Okay.
on the form, it comes out to the .22, because if somebody just doesn't read, like most people don't, and they do the math, they're gonna come up to 2.44 to 2.3.
I put that asterisk there,
Understood.
yeah, to try and clarify it, but like you said, some people don't use it.
Right. So, we have an existing, that would change, and then, Three, three, one, four. 3314 .225.
225?
225.
Round it up, or?
You can see it as 225. Are there any other comments to the updated application that was submitted?
I don't have any.
Wayne? George, any comments over here? All right, anything else to add, or that's it, pretty straightforward?
I think it's, I always thought it was pretty simple, but,
Trying hard to make sure that the plans match the application, and a lot of times I think it's done quickly, and a lot of people just transcribe loosely, or they do the
Yes.
math in the application first, and the engineers actually do the drawings, and then things are different. So
Yes.
we've had quite a bit of this.
yes.
All right, is there a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion to grant a special permit from relief from the Newbury zoning bylaws 97-4D, upward extension in order to raise the existing single-family structure and construct a new single-family residential structure on piling located at 7 Hutchins Road.
Okay, and I'll amend that says that the application has edits that need to be, we just
Yes.
need to handwrite them in and both agree to them, and then we can have that be the application that's been voted on for the
That's
motion.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
accepted.
Second.
Okay, is there a vote? All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
3 in favor, Martha. All right, congratulations, thank you.
Thank you for your time and effort, everyone.
Do you have, who's got the cleanest copy in their hand?
This,
Yeah.
This
Mark
one?
it all up?
no, I didn't mark it up, but I
So, this one?
Should you amend it, like, note?
I'm gonna mark it up, if you're gonna initial it, I'll initial it, and then we'll hand it over to Chrissy as the official
Good.
application.
That should be attached to the decision. Along with the drawings.
That's it, all right. If you would. Yeah, right here, next to that number, right up here. All righty.
Okay?
Thank you very much. All right, thank you.
Yeah,
have a good night.
thank you.
All righty.
Anything else?
No.
Motion to close the meeting?
The
Oh.
zoning,
Oh.
coming to you since you.
Yes, we got one more item on the
Suggestion.
I don't have an agenda.
Under-
Yes, I do, I'm sorry. Yeah, we've had discussions from time to time about, amendments that might be helpful to the zoning bylaw, particularly the PIOD. And I know among other things, you kind of struggled with roof height definitions and that type of thing. Anyway, we had a discussion at the last planning board meeting, and the suggestion was that perhaps we should have a joint meeting with you so we can have a better understanding of what your needs are. I mean, you deal with the PIOD all the time. We see it only infrequently. So that's pretty much it. If it's something you could want to consider,
Yeah.
we could set up a joint meeting, and if this is the right time for it, because we're getting ready, for any proposed zoning bylaw amendments for the Springtown meeting.
So I would be in favor of that, and I would think that we'd have some format which was questions either way from either side that just want clarification on a section. Like, I don't know, what does this mean? We're reading this and we sometimes have trouble understanding it. And the second would be actual things that we may feel there's some action or some discussion to change or clarify or to amend or whatever on. And that could be everything from a definition or a missing definition, like roof deck is not in there, and can we come up with a definition of roof deck that we can all come to terms with? I think there would be a discussion around roof decks and what constitutes a roof deck with occupied space under it, something that's just attached and flying on a roof, something that is at a floor level, or something that is then accessed above a floor level and sitting at the ridge of a roof, because that's the wildly different understanding of where that is. And putting a deck that's level with the ridge line is not in keeping with the building height of the mean height of the roof in terms of casting shadow and preventing blocking wind and et cetera. So if we did do this, we would set this up for January sometime maybe? How much time does planning board need, and how much time?
We don't need a lot. I mean, quite frankly, what we're looking for is how we can help you, okay? And, to help you, with and I think particularly the PIOD, the issues that you're struggling with on a regular basis. We do have a fairly tight schedule to get things, any proposed bylaw amendments submitted to the selectmen. Martha, I don't recall offhand, it's February at some.
Yeah, basically, I think everything needs to be submitted, in some form to the select board by their February 7th or 8th meeting. I can't remember what it is. So, depending on what the items are, some of them might be achievable for this Springtown meeting. They might be longer term. But if we can, get things out on the table and then, decide how to move forward with them.
Are there other amendments in the works for the next town meeting?
We're working on some things, nothing that you would, I think you would see on a regular basis.
So I don't think we have immediate need to rush. I think we should meet and get the ideas out there, and then together understand the importance of them, and then figure out how to move forward with them.
We want to get them right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it may take a discussion, and then some drafting, and then some feeling out, and some time for it to get where it's going.
I mean, maybe we should even be thinking about the fall meeting.
Yeah, and we may not come up with stuff, or we actually may come up with stuff. So we're not even sure that there'll be stuff that's totally needed. Or so yeah, I guess if we could meet in January, that would give us time to say that in the first week of January that we each have an agenda or a list of issues, and we've gone through our experience or just reread the zoning to come up with a list of questions or issues or something. Send that to you. We can create an agenda from that and then set up the meeting.
I was just going to say, even, the whole accessory apartment always comes up. Maybe a better definition.
Yeah, we've been through a couple of iterations on that, but I know, basically anything that you guys struggle with when you have these applications before you that need to be clarified or whatever.
List. I thought we talked about this before.
We did, and I do have notes
Okay.
somewhere. And I have been collecting as I have other projects, and all of a sudden I'm like, I don't know, I'm in Somerville zoning, and I see something on roof definitions, or I see a nice diagram. I've been trying to save a few things.
The PIOD is a unique thing, and it's more complicated too by the fact that we're supposed to be working in tandem with Newburyport as far as any substantive changes go, and so it's a complicated.
And some of it may be that, I know that other town, like, I know Cambridge does this on a regular basis, but they take their zoning board and the zoning department out, and they do tours and look at stuff physically to see what was built, and they have different parts of town, so they'll go to the different districts and look at it as a way to help educate themselves, and that's something that we don't do, and, you know, we're volunteers and we're limited in time, but to be able to walk down Plum Island for an hour and look at certain things, then recalls or brings up context of which kind of like, it's not exactly what I expected when I saw drawings and text in front of me, kind of thing. And I don't think we're just trying to make it equal and fair for everybody that's doing it. And so I don't think any of us have an agenda to change anything. We just want to make sure. And there are, yeah, you're right, the PIOD, you read some of those as by right and then by catastrophe or disaster. And it takes a few readings to make sure it's just like exactly when is it A, when is it B, and when is it C. And I also think one of the biggest things besides the roof is reconstruct. Definition, reconstruct. Because they're in there, your rights are listed as, and then if those several words for, I mean, if you want, as you read the PIOD and it says, structures shall not be enlarged, extended, provided, however, that the following types of changes, alterations, on structures may be authorized by defining change. That's not the one I was looking for. So it says reconstruct. So where is the definition of reconstruct that says that means you get to demolish the whole thing, take it all away, and build a brand new thing? And the intent of the PIOD, where you have a finding, which isn't a variance, but you're extending but not exacerbating a non-conforming condition, which is allowed by finding. You're taking something that isn't allowed and you're allowing them to continue it because they're not making it any worse. They're just continuing a condition that they already have that is deemed to be not more detrimental. So just the idea that you can just demolish something and build something new, the status of what you had of non-conforming now is like totally lost. And that just doesn't seem to be a complete thought. If that made any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that what I would do is I'm going to read through this, and things where I find words that I can't find a definition to, I'm going to ask, like, why don't we have a definition that really defines more accurately what it states here as to a right or an action?
Okay.
And that's roofs and definitions are my two things, because I think that's where we look to find interpretations and backups is having that, and having additional language to something helps us, right? It's all interpretation, so it helps us with those interpretations.
Good.
Yeah, so we'd appreciate that.
Yeah, wonderful.
And I think the thought also was to include Peter Burnett in the discussion as well, so.
I think we talked about that before.
Yeah, and then with Sam, especially for me early on, I had a lot of calls or come-ins and sit-downs with Sam, like, what is this? What did you see or not see? And why are you writing this up, kind of thing? And so that was helpful. And since he is writing it, I think also, I don't know, sometimes his letters, sometimes they're simple, but I think some of them should be a little bit more explanatory as to the exact code sections.
I struggle with that too when I read it. It's like, okay,
what exactly is it, it's just, yeah, it has to come before us.
And some of it's just because the height is changing and
Yeah.
it's extending upward, and others, there's some other issues that I think would be listed in there.
So what we could do is circulate some dates. I don't know how everybody feels, but I think, you know, the planning board has a fairly full agenda at the moment. You guys do too, so maybe it would make sense to find a, you know, not try to do it at your meeting or the planning board's meeting, but, you know, just a separate meeting that just kind of focuses on that.
So we take the time to put together our list and thought that we're gonna share with you, and then we target like maybe the last week in January, and you guys see if the planning board is amenable to that time frame, then we can figure out how to work towards that.
Yeah, I mean, if we're shooting for something for the fall town meeting, we're not under such a time, crunch.
Right, and any, as you said, anything in the PIOD is gonna have extra scrutiny and a second town and town council's additional opinion. If there's other stuff, I think we could find or make corrections and propose stuff to the planning board, because it is your jurisdiction and authority to recraft or edit or make changes and propose those.
Anyone can initiate it, but, that said, it's typically the planning board that, we're used to doing it.
Yeah. I thought that was stated, that it was the responsibility of the planning
The
board.
planning board, for any zoning amendments, the planning board, under Mass General Law is required to hold a public hearing on that, but as Larry said, anybody can initiate it by submitting a
But you
petition
hold the
to-
public hearing.
Yeah, the planning board holds a public
It
hearing.
can be a private citizen, it can be another board, but, and you correct me if I get anything wrong here, Martha, typically someone initiates the process by petitioning the select board for a zoning amendment. Then the select board refers it to us for a public hearing and report, goes back to the select board, who then, takes the appropriate action.
So if we found concern and we found an issue, or I have several definitions, then I think we probably would like the ZBA to petition the select board in terms of a formal process of where it's coming from, and then it.
You can certainly do that,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, and it's just the understanding of who and where it's coming from in terms of why, right? I think in terms of town meeting, a lot of the zoning stuff, people, if they just understand, it's like who is bringing this up, a lot of the legal mumbo jumbo hasn't been discussed or even asked, it's just been accepted, right? That's how I've seen it in the
Or
past.
denied it.
What?
Or turned down.
Well,
We've had a few, but, yeah, I think it would be helpful if, if that comes out of a meeting, just so that, everybody's sort of on board with doing this, and then if you guys want to, actually petition the select board to do that,
Mhm.
and then that can trigger the process.
yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, then a question for Peter is, a lot of people have concerns for us outside the ZBA in terms of, okay, that's Concom, that's planning board review, that's building inspector's purview, and I think just in terms of clarification of the conditions that we can put for the benefit of residents in terms of motions. I think there was a private way, people had access, and the private way wasn't really marked at all, and people were concerned, safety and otherwise, of their property for access to the construction site. I don't think there was anything of issue with the construction on the lot that was proposed, but we thought back maybe afterwards, we might have had a condition or something about either surveying or staking out or protecting the right-of-way to protect property. And is that probably in the building inspector's purview, but it's in our public court and realm that it came to us. And so as a condition of the motion, an action would have been taken, as opposed to trying to send it back to the building inspector and, oh, by the way, could you look out for this or something? And just, those have come up in discussions. I don't know if how the planning board handles something like that. The conditions, our motions for some things are fairly simple and straightforward, and they've become more complicated, and I think with the new format for the motion, we're getting more, we're just documenting it better. It's just a better built motion of understanding. So simplicity is out and betterment is in, I guess. Good?
Yeah,
Thanks.
I think that's a great way to proceed.
Okay.
Yeah, we can, I think, help you, and you can help us also to better understand it,
Mhm.
you know.
Okay.
Motion to close the meeting?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.